In this video, I'm going to share with you how to build self-discipline and improve self-control in 5 steps. So let's get straight to it. The first step is you need a goal, because if you haven't got a goal, then what are you going to aim towards? What are you going to make your target so then you can direct yourself to try and hit that target? And if you haven't got a goal, then what are you really trying to be more disciplined with? Because in life, we want to become more disciplined because of a goal that we're trying to achieve. For example, doing some exercise or building a side business or eating healthier food, going to bed earlier or reading an educational book so you can improve your skills with whatever goal you're trying to achieve. Having a goal makes you so much more disciplined and puts you in a position where you haven't really got a choice. You basically are accountable for hitting that goal. And the only person it's going to fall back on if you don't hit that goal is you. So when you have a goal, you now have a clear vision of the target that you want to hit. And without a goal, you're going to pretty much be all over the place. You're not going to really know what direction you need to go in. So how are you going to build up self-discipline? How are you going to improve your overall discipline as a person? That's why you're going to have to set yourself a goal, because you need to be tested to become disciplined. If you're not being tested, then how are you going to become disciplined? So if you have that goal, then you'll put yourself in a situation where you can be tested and you can build up that discipline. The second step to build self-discipline and improve self-control is having a plan of action. The reason why you need a plan of action is because you need routine. You need structure to your day to be able to achieve your goal. Can you imagine getting in the car and just driving and just driving and just driving and just driving, but you have no idea where you're going? And then whenever you get to the end of the road, you say to yourself, I have no idea where I am. I have no idea how I got here. And the reason why is obvious, is because you didn't have an end destination. You didn't have a place or a goal that you wanted to get to. So by giving yourself structure, a routine to your day, you now have an outline of what you need to do, the essentially action steps that you need to take to be able to achieve your goal. Now, in my opinion, I would suggest or recommend, in order to become more disciplined, try setting yourself one goal at a time. The reason why is because if you set yourself multiple goals, it's going to be overwhelming, and there's going to be multiple disciplines that you're going to have to try and be disciplined at all at once. So I recommend you just focus on one goal, so that way you can build up your self-discipline and your self-control, because you just have one goal to focus on. For example, let's say that your goal that you have is you want to get in better shape. So clearly, the thing that you're struggling with is being disciplined, hence why you're on this video. So you need discipline, you need more self-control. So by having a plan of action, you'll have an outline of the steps that you need to take to be able to get in better shape. So for example, your plan for getting in better shape could look like this. So rather than waking up at 8 a.m., you now wake up at 7 a.m. And the reason why you're waking up at 7 a.m. is all down to discipline. You're waking up at 7 a.m. so you have the opportunity to be able to get in better shape. That extra 1 hour gives you the opportunity to be able to work out, lift weights, go for a run, go for a swim, or just go for a nice casual walk. If you're brand new to working out, you don't want to overdo it. So by starting off by taking a nice walk, that's a good way to introduce exercise into your life, because it's not too intense. On the topic of getting in better shape, let's say you're overweight and you want to lose weight. Removing junk food from your home is most probably the best thing that you can do. So that will be part of your plan of action. That will now become part of your new routine, your new habit. So no longer consuming junk food at home. And when you want to consume junk food, write it down on your schedule or on your plan and make it known that junk food is only consumed at the house once a week. There's not an unlimited buffet here, but Make sure that it's done at a level where you know you're pushing yourself so you can actually become more disciplined. Because if you're giving yourself a goal to hit and that goal's not that hard to hit, it's a really easy goal to hit. It requires very little discipline. Essentially, you're not building up your self-discipline. You're not building up your self-control. So you do need to give yourself a goal that's a bit challenging, but at the same time, not too challenging that it puts you off. So having a plan that you're going to remove all junk food from the home is a really good start, and only having junk food outside once per week. Another example with starting a side business could be a plan of action of waking up earlier or going to sleep later or cutting back on the things that are basically eating up your time, essentially wasting time. So let's say you finish work at 6 p.m. If you cut back on watching TV or just spending your time on less important things, then you can spend time on building your side business from 8 to 10, for example, or 7 to 9, or 7 to 10. It just depends on how much energy you have left. And even if you don't have that much energy, think of the end result. Think about what you'll be giving up by not putting in the work. Even though you may be tired, putting in the work for something that you truly want is always going to be worth it. There's not going to be no regret there. The only time there's going to be regret is when you want something, but you don't do it. Building up self-control takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. When you've been in a particular routine or a certain pattern for such a long time, you get prone to that pattern. You just are kind of stuck doing the same thing over and over again. So it's going to take some time to build up discipline to be able to change those habits. So taking small steps at a time works best, because that way it's not overwhelming and you can build up momentum and you just become more disciplined as you become more disciplined. So even tiny little things, let's say, for example, every time you go to the shop, you have a little ritual that you do, and that's you buy a sweet from the shop to eat on the way home. Each time you don't buy that sweet, that's going to be a part of you building up self-discipline, because you're no longer giving into that urge of that sugar rush. That's what it is, a sugar rush. So each time you give into that urge, you're essentially becoming less disciplined. So you can do it with really small things, just like the example I'm giving you. Stop buying the sweet from the shop, and that small little discipline that you build up can easily translate into other things, such as your meal and your general eating habits. So when it comes to building self-discipline, you need to have an action plan to keep you accountable, to keep you in a routine. So that way, when you do stumble or you stride away from it, you can look at your routine and realize, no, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my routine and this is what I committed to and this is my schedule. So that's what I'm going to do. The third step is, what's your why? You're going to be much more likely to stick to something if you know your why, because it's going to give you motivation. Knowing your why is going to motivate you when you don't feel motivated. And there's going to be many times when you don't feel motivated. There's days where I wake up and I just don't feel like doing anything. I feel a little bit down. I feel a little bit lazy. I don't really feel like doing anything. I just feel like laying in bed. I just feel like chilling. But my why keeps me going. My why is what motivates me. And when you have a why, it's so much more harder to not commit to something, because your why is so much stronger than saying no. Your why is so much stronger than the regret of not doing something. So when you think of your why, that in itself can build up self-discipline within you, because when you don't feel like doing something and you look at your why, you do it. And when you do it, you build up momentum and then you feel good. And if you haven't got a why, which I believe you do have a why in life, everyone has a why, because our goals lead to our whys. why do we set goals? We're setting a goal because we want a particular outcome. That's our why. So if you have a goal of getting in better shape or starting a business, then your why is because maybe you want financial freedom, or your why is because you want to look better as a person. You want to be more confident. Those things are going to be your why. They're your reasons as to why you do something. And something that I like to do when I don't feel like I'm being as disciplined as I could be, or I just feel a little bit lazy, is I ask myself, what are the consequences? So what I mean by that is, what are the consequences of going after your goals? And then what are the consequences of not going after your goals? Now, the reason why this relates to self-discipline and self-control is because when you think of why you're going after that goal, that naturally makes you think about, well, what if I do achieve it? What if I don't achieve it? And that very thing that you want to achieve will give you the drive that you need, because when you look back at your why, it's like, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I set that goal, because I want to achieve this end result. So by looking at the consequences of not achieving it, that should get you into action. That should get you out of bed. That should make you want to work longer hours. And even if you don't feel like doing it, it should make you want to do it, because your why is so much more bigger than just laying in bed or the regret of not doing something. So if you truly want to build up a lot of self-discipline, have a big why. Thinking of the consequences of doing something and not doing something works really well for me, because, like I said, there are times where I don't feel like doing anything. I just feel like giving up sometimes with particular things. But the consequence of me giving up means I don't achieve my goal. It means that I'm no longer working towards something that makes me feel good. And the feeling of feeling good temporarily in a situation where I don't feel like doing something because I just want to relax, that feeling of relaxing is going to be short-lived. The feeling is going to expire a lot quicker than the feeling I'm going to get if I go after my goals and I look back at my why. That feeling is going to make me feel so much more fulfilled, so much more better than it would if I didn't go after my goals, just because of that temporary satisfaction of laying in bed. So whenever you feel like you're lacking self-discipline or self-control, take a look at your why. Stick it on the wall. Tattoo it to yourself. Put it somewhere where you can always see it, so it's visible. You have to make sure that your why is visible, because when you can't see it, you won't constantly be reminded of it. And when you're trying to build self-discipline and self-control, then you have to be reminded of it, because the more you're reminded of it, the more chances you have of being more disciplined. So whenever you don't feel like you're being disciplined, remind yourself of your why, and that should get you into action. Now, before we go on to step 4, my name's Luke, and this channel is all about personal development. And I enjoy sharing the things that I've learned and continuously learn. So if you're enjoying this video, make sure you like it and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all of my latest content. The 4th step is remove distractions. The last thing that you need when you're trying to build self-discipline and self-control is distractions, because they distract you. So you need to ask yourself, genuinely ask yourself, what distracts me the most? So what do you feel like distracts you the most in your life? When you're in the middle of something and something happens, what is that thing that draws your attention away from the thing that you should be working on? I'll give you an example of what distracts me the most. So when I sit down and I get ready to work, one of the things that can easily distract me is my phone. And I do put my phone on silent, but there's times where I don't put my phone on silent because I just simply forgot. So when I forget to put my phone on silent and I'm working, there's a point in time, I don't know why this happens, but there's a point in time where I'm really in the zone. I'm really in the flow state. And you know what it feels like to be in the flow state. When you're in the flow state, everything's just flowing at a rate where it's like, I never knew I knew that. I never knew I could do that. Everything's just flowing exactly as you want it to. And when I'm in that moment, that's when my phone rings. That's when I get a notification on my phone. And as small as that little thing is, it massively distracts me, because that phone call or notification now takes me out of that flow state. And as you know, it takes a long time to get into the flow state. Now, when I sit down, it takes me about half an hour to kind of zone into things. But to fully be in the zone, to like just fully zone into a project, that just can't be magically turned on. That happens naturally, and that takes time to get into. It's not like there's a little button where you just say, well, now I'm in complete flow state. It happens when you are flowing, and you're flowing to the point where now you just are fully in it. And that is the true flow state, what pretty much everyone wants to get into. But when there's distractions, that breaks it. So by removing as many distractions as you can, you limit the chances of being distracted. So by you removing as many distractions as you can, you're going to limit the chances of being distracted, and it's going to make you more of a disciplined person overall. The fifth step is track your progress. Do you feel like you're becoming more disciplined as a person? So on a day-to-day basis, based off your actions, do you genuinely feel like you're becoming more of a disciplined person? And if you're not sure if you're more disciplined than you previously was, then simply take a look at your goals. Are you closer to your goals than you previously was? And if you're not closer to your goals, then clearly something's going wrong. Clearly there's a lack of discipline there. But if you are closer to your goals, or if you've actually hit your goals, then there's clear evidence that you are becoming more disciplined. And the good thing about tracking your progress is there's no way out. There's no way to lie. There's no way to escape it, because it makes you fully accountable. It makes you 100% responsible. Because if you've set yourself a goal and you take a look at that goal and you're not even 10% towards hitting your goal, then are you really progressing? You're not. So there's no lying involved. But if you set yourself a goal and you're halfway there or 80% there, or let's say you've actually hit that goal, when you look at your progress, you can clearly say, look, I've taken these steps and I've hit my goal. Here's the facts. I've actually achieved my goal. So by keeping track of your progress, it is a little bit uncomfortable because it does make you accountable, but being accountable makes you more disciplined. And since the whole objective of the video is being more disciplined, having more self-control, then tracking your progress is one of those things that you're going to have to do. Because without it, how do you know if you're getting closer or actually just staying stuck with trying to hit your goals? So tracking your progress makes you fully accountable. There's not an option to back off to your comfort zone. There's not an option to hide, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one who's going to be left with the results. And if those results ain't in the direction that you want them to be in, then clearly you haven't been disciplined enough. And if you feel like you're just lacking that motivation, then you can always go back and look at your why. Remember the why. The why is what's going to give you the drive that you need when you feel a little bit down, when you feel a little bit discouraged, because we all go through those feelings. So that why will bring that encouragement, that motivation back to you. And remember, the more you do something, the more you're going to become disciplined at it, and the more you're going to make it part of your routine, your habit, your way of life. And this can work in two ways. The less disciplined you become, that just becomes part of your normal schedule, your normal routine, just not being disciplined, because you're practicing day in and day out, not being disciplined. So when you change that and you start to become more disciplined and you have more self-control, you now build momentum. You now make that part of your daily life because you're practicing it so much. So the more you practice being disciplined, the more disciplined you're going to become, because the things that you practiced often enough just become part of your way of life. They become part of your routine. So put yourself in situations where you're forcing yourself to become more disciplined. So by tracking your progress, you're going to build more self-discipline and more self-control because you actually have something to track. So in summary, step 1 is you need a goal. Step 2 is you need a plan of action. Step 3 is what's your why. Step 4 is remove distractions. Step 5 is track your progress. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this video and you want to know why your comfort zone is keeping you stuck, then I've left a link in the video description box down below. Take care.